And now it's time for the biggest party of the season as IMSA heads to Central Florida and the Sebring International Raceway. This week on IMSA, the Road to Racing, teams and drivers take on the most historic endurance motor race in North America, the Mobil 1 12 Hours of Sebring, while drivers in the IMSA Michelin Pilot Challenge contest round 2 of 2019, the Alan J. Automotive Network 120. Fasten your seatbelt because it's time to go sports car racing.
So welcome to Sebring International Raceway, the birthplace of American endurance racing. It was on this site in 1950 that the first endurance race was held in this country, in this hemisphere, in the Western Hemisphere.
The Sebring International Raceway is known around the motorsports world for its 12-hour-long endurance race, the fans that flock to the race every spring, and the bumps that keep drivers sore and engineers scratching their head. But before Sebring was home to arguably the most famous endurance race in North America, it was home to the Hendricks Army Airfield, a training base for pilots of B-17 bombers during the Second World War. Decommissioned in 1945 following the United States' victory in the war, Russian-American aeronautical engineer Alec Ullman found inspiration in the long runways and the service roads that connected them to recreate the 24 Hours of Le Mans. The first ever 12-hour sports car race was held 2 years later in March of 1952. For 30 years until 1982, to be able to use the full circuit at Sebring, they had to temporarily close airstrips on the property, allowing the racing to take place instead. In 1983 and 1987, modifications allowed the use of one and then a second airstrip. Finally, updates to the track in 1991 allowed both the airfield and the racetrack to function independently at the same time. Since then, the full track layout spans over 3.7 miles with 17 corners. On a very flat terrain in Central Florida, featuring 0 elevation changes, the track consists of long straights which are connected by high-speed turns and technical low-speed sections. Adding to the technical difficulty of the airfield now turned racetrack are the variety of different surfaces that result in a very rough ride. The historic racetrack and the 12-hour-long race is a true endurance test for both man and machine. Now let's take a look at some news from the IMSA paddock. British engineer Lena Gade is the newest addition to Mazda Team Yost to set up the number 77 Mazda DPI before heading out on track. In 2011, Gade became the first female engineer to win the 24 Hours of Le Mans and repeating that feat again in 2012 and 2014. The Porsche 911 RSR car number 911 is the only winning team from the 2018 race that returns to Sebring for the 12 hours with the exact same driver lineup as last season. Patrick Pilet, Nick Tandy, and Frederick Makovecki will battle to repeat a win in their GT Le Mans class in this year's 12-hour competition. Pippo Durrani, co-driver of the number 31 Whelen Engineering Cadillac, is the current driver with most overall victories at Sebring. Durrani has come out on top twice in the 12-hour race, in 2016 and more recently in 2018. Two-time GT Daytona champion Christina Nielsen confirms a return to the number 57 Heinricher Racing with Meyer-Shank Racing Acura NSX for the remaining endurance events this season. The Mobil 1 12 Hours of Sebring, the Salem 6 Hours of the Glen, and the season finale, the Motul Petite Le Mans. IMSA and FIA officers announced that the legendary British racing driver Alan McNish will serve as the Grand Marshal for the Super Sebring race weekend that combines the IMSA WeatherTech Sports Car Championship 12 Hours of Sebring event and the 1,000 kilometers of Sebring for the World Endurance Championship. The Mobil 1 12 Hours of Sebring is an incredibly hard race to win, but to win it twice takes a special driver behind the wheel. Pippo Durrani is a two-time winner of this classic endurance sports car race and is going for win number 3. He tells us what you must do to be victorious at Sebring.
You know, it's a very difficult track that does not allow for you to make any mistakes. If you make a mistake, you're on the grass, you're in the wall. So I think coming with this mentality every year, as if you're here for the first time, and build the confidence through the weekend, it's very important. And I've been fortunate enough to win it twice in 3 years. Obviously I was with a good team at the right place at the right time, and now I'm with the champion team. So I think it sets me pretty well for this year's race. But no, I just think hard work, working with the right people, it's very important. You know, we have a great team of engineers and strategists behind the scenes that nobody knows. So yeah, this is really important. At the end of the day, we're driving at night. We can't see much the surroundings, and we need to rely on these guys. So lucky enough to win it twice, like I said, and hopefully I can win the third time in 4 years. That would be great. You start the race during the day, very early, and you finish at night. So first of all, it's really difficult for you to have a great car on both parts of the day because temperature changes and engine reacts differently, tires react differently. So we need to work always thinking about the end of the race. But if you do that, it means you're gonna have at least 8 or 10 hours of a very difficult car to drive. So you need to find a good balance between day and night. Obviously you want to be at night with a good car for the win, but you gotta get there first. So that's the main difficulty here in Sebring, and I think it's what everyone looks for. It's a balance with these different conditions throughout the day.
As always, the technical regulations are the basis of competition and the spectacle that is IMSA sports car racing. Let's now check in with Jeff Carter to learn about the technical changes coming into Sebring.
Last talked at Daytona, there's been a couple of small changes to the balance of performance. As we said last time, Daytona is a unique track configuration, high speed, high bank. It has its own specific BOP. What we've done for Sebring is we've gone back to the season-ending 2018 Petit Le Mans. That track configuration is very similar to Sebring. So we've taken the balance from that race, transferred it over. We've come up with a sensitivity program. So 10 kilos of weight is this amount of time in sensitivity per sector at each track. And we're ready to race here at Sebring International Raceway. I hope you enjoy the show.
It's been 12 hours. It is very long. Corvette Racing knows very well how to win it, because we have done it several times. But it is important being always up there, to know how to evolve the car so that in the last hours of the race at night, the car runs its best. And it seems that we're pretty good at doing that, or we have already the experience to do it, and well, we hope that this year we can repeat again.
IMSA is always striving to improve safety standards. We'll now learn some logistical details that allow such complex race events to take place while providing the safest environment possible to teams and competitors.
Basically what track services is we encompass all the on-track safety for the paddock, the racetrack, and pit road, and any area the competitors may be. We have a training program that we will deliver to the racetracks prior to our arrival. There's an online component and a hands-on component. We also have certain standards that the racetracks must meet from equipment and staffing. Secondly, we'll kind of do a racetrack inspection of the racing surface, the cutout, the racetrack's equipment. The race director will have a full course caution. At that point, we'll begin to figure out where the incident is. If we're not already sure, we'll begin to dispatch the equipment, which will be the Porsche Cayennes that are in IMSA control. Any tool trucks or fire trucks, which are staffed by the racetrack, we'll get those moving the second the caution comes out. And as soon as we have an opening in the field, they'll get there, assess the driver. If there's any fire, we'll take care of the fire, get that extinguished, get the driver out, get him off to medical. get him anything he needs. We'll get the car out of there, get the walls, the tires, anything put back in place so we can get the racetrack back to a raceable condition and go back to green flag racing.
After kicking off the 2019 Mobil 1 12 Hours of Sebring under yellow flag conditions due to unsafe amounts of rain, the IMSA safety car heads for pit lane and pole sitter Dane Cameron in the number 6 Team Penske Acura DPI is immediately overtaken in turn 1 by the number 77 Mazda Team Yost DPI driven by Tristan Nunez. The Acura of Cameron was left behind quickly and would have to play defense against the number 5 Mustang sampling Cadillac. Track conditions in turn 17, the final corner at Sebring, are already challenging enough. But just add a little bit of water, and here Elio Castroneves gets bit aboard the number 7 Acura as he goes for a spin early in the race. The racing in GT Le Mans improved also as the track slowly began to dry. The number 67 Ford GT and the number 25 BMW go toe-to-toe through turn 3, with the number 67 Ford taking over the lead in GT Le Mans. 3 hours into the second round of 2019, and finally the rain had stopped. Here, the number 31 Whelen Engineering Cadillac was one of the first cars to hit pit lane and put on their first set of dry weather Michelin tires. Here we pick up a very close race for 5th position in GT Daytona. Catherine Legge leads that pack of GTD cars in her number 57 Acura NSX from Heinricher Racing with Meyer Shank. Cooper McNeil in the number 63 Ferrari 488 is right behind her, and Patrick Long in the number 73 Porsche 911 hangs close behind in the 7th spot. They make their way off of the Ullman Straight and through the rough and very bumpy turn 17. Legge brings the pack of GTD cars back onto the front stretch to complete another lap, but this battle did not calm down for quite a while. Despite being competitive early in the race, mechanical problems brought the Juncos Racing number 50 Cadillac DPI into the pits for repairs late in the race. Turns out a piece of track debris actually broke the alternator belt. With only 2 hours to go in the marathon that is Sebring, the sun had completely set despite having plenty of racing still to go. And with sections of Sebring International Raceway having no lighting around the track at all, drivers add an almost total lack of visibility to their challenges in finishing this grueling race. When the clock finally struck 0 and all 12 hours had been completed in Sebring, it was the number 31 Cadillac from Whelen Engineering, piloted in the final hours by Pippo Durrani, that claimed the second victory of the 2019 season. In GT Le Mans, Nick Tandy, Patrick Pilet, and Frederick Makovecki went back-to-back as they brought their 911 Porsche home in the first position. The number 11 Lamborghini Huracan from GRT Grasser Racing won GT Daytona, and the number 38 Performance Tech entry in LMP2 of Cameron Castles, Andrew Evans, and Kyle Masson took the victory. After a wildly exciting 36 hours of Florida, round 3 of the IMSA WeatherTech Sports Car Championship will be a sprint race of only 100 minutes in the streets of Long Beach, California. IMSA WeatherTech Sports Car Championship standings. DPI class. LMP2 class. GT Le Mans, GT Daytona. Making 2019 and the 50th anniversary season of IMSA even more exciting will be the racing found on track in the IMSA Michelin Pilot Challenge. This championship season shares its calendar with the IMSA WeatherTech Sports Car Championship. Although the series has been around for many years, this year it features Michelin as the title sponsor, as well as key technical advancements to the cars competing. Nearly a dozen different manufacturers will be represented in the IMSA Michelin Pilot Challenge in 2019 between the GS, or the Grand Sport class, and TCR, or Touring Car Racing category. We sit down with Mexican racing driver Rodrigo Salas from eEuroparts.com Racing.
It was a very difficult race for us. We had problems with the car during all practice sessions. The first time I got in the car was for the qualifying session. I started in the race in second position. I was driving very well. I wasn't able to reach first, but everything was going very well until we had a flat tire. I had to bring the car to pits, put on a new tire and return to track in the last position. I ran as best as I could and got second position again. The car was not in good condition because the ABS failed because of what happened to the tire. Then, my partner Kuno Wittmer had a very good stint, but even then we were only able to reach second place by the end of the race. Then on the second to last corner of the last lap, the car that was winning ran out of gas, letting us win the race. Although we had very bad luck throughout the weekend, with practice, with the tire, with everything came together, changing our luck and making the victory possible for us. It was my very first victory in IMSA, and I will never forget that.
Jeff Mishtawi, Senior Technical Director for IMSA, shares changes to the regulations applying to the second round of the IMSA Michelin Pilot Challenge.
With the GS class though, we had a great data set, a lot of cars, a lot of drivers, high success rate with the finishing rate completion. The two changes that we made, only cars from two manufacturers were affected by it. The McLaren dominated the Daytona race. It was apparent in the data that they had fixed some of the gremlins that the car had faced for a while. Looking at it, it made it easy to add 50 kilos of weight to the car. All the manufacturers essentially agree with that kind of change, and our technical committee does as well. The Aston Martin AMR, the brand new Aston, had its North American debut at the Daytona event. Started it, the team and the manufacturer honestly didn't know what to expect. So after that, they ran a pretty solid race with it. We pulled 45 kilos of weight off the car and make it a little lighter so it corners and brakes a little bit better. Add a little bit of boost, turbo boost for a little more horsepower. Keep it in the hunt here. Reevaluate after the event and see if there's anything else we need to change. Hopefully we don't. Hopefully we keep it like this all year. If so, then we've done our job right.
The second round of the IMSA Michelin Pilot Challenge was run under bright blue skies and the Florida sun. Here we see the number 15 Ford Mustang from Multimatic Motorsports, driven by NASCAR racers Ben Rhodes and Myatt Snyder, negotiate the fast and flat opening corners around Sebring International Raceway. The team would show well, but ultimately end up missing the final 20 minutes of the race and finished 36th overall due to a mechanical issue. An absolute barn burner of a race here, back for the 11th position in the GS category, as Paul Holton in the black and orange number 75 McLaren fights tooth and nail to keep Christian Honadell in the number 57 Mercedes behind him through the opening corners. In the TCR category that shares the track with the faster GS cars, Todd Lamb in the number 84 Atlanta Speedworks Honda leads the way, but Daytona race winner Tom O'Gorman in the number 37 from LA Honda World is making his way through traffic to try and give Lamb a run for the TCR class lead, when on the far end of the racetrack, the number 10 Audi of Lee Carpentier has a frightening accident in the tire barriers on the outside of the track at the end of the back straightaway. The Canadian driver thankfully was able to climb from the wrecked Audi and walk away on his own. Here we see the long train of GS cars fighting just to stand on the podium. Kenny Wilden in the Core Motorsports Ford Mustang leads Devin Jones in the number 82 BMW from Bimmer World Racing. The 82 BMW of Jones is actually able to get around Wilden for the third position before ultimately taking second place in the final minutes of the race. And in TCR, Tom O'Gorman and his number 37 Honda had checked out on the field in the closing stages as they stared down the barrel of their second victory in as many races to kick off 2019. At the very front of the field, though, it was the number 39 Audi R8 from Carbon Motorsports, driven by Tyler McQuarrie and Jeff Westphal, picking up the win and earning the victory in GS at Sebring. Jones finishes in second with the Bimmer World BMW, and the 69 McLaren from Motorsports in Action is able to hold off a hard-charging number 35 Riley Motorsports Mercedes to stand on the podium. IMSA Michelin Pilot Challenge point standings. GS class. The TCR class.
Of course, this is part of the IMSA WeatherTech Sports Car Championship, but right on the line, right here, right now, is the Mobil 1 12 Hours of Sebring.
Putting it all on the line. Sebring is such a big race. You want it on your resume.
It's time to bring the action here in Sebring.
And we're going to be starting the race under yellow right now.
Boy, this is going to be fascinating to watch. It's Dane Cameron in the Acura Team Penske DPI that brings this field to the green flag.
Green flag! And we're racing at the Mobil 1 12 Hours of Sebring.
Union goes around the outside.
He wants the lead. He wants that clean air.
There's somewhat of a dry line. Whoa! Lundqvist
What a
keeps
save.
it off the wall.
Wow, I got to get my Westy down to the inside. Takes the lead back.
4 Michelin split tires going on for the first time in this 12-hour race.
And you see the flames licking away inside.
And this is shades of Daytona all over again.
Oh, we got a problem for Corvette.
Issue also on pit road.
Oh, he's off track. Oh, off for the master.
Cameron Castles has the 38 right now in front of that 52.
I don't know if this is the electrical issue cropping up again, major problems, and the 16 continues to fall further and further back. That's not in a
The Mercedes goes sailing off track.
Still 5 hours to go though, Johnny. You know, that's the thing. You've got to be thinking big picture here.
It feels good to be racing at Sebring in the Mobil 1 12 Hours of Sebring on a wet and challenging day.
And the track was evolving and gripping up so well. With less than 120 minutes to go.
Pippo Durrani has the lead, but he is feeling pressure from behind. Side by side between two cars in the air. Look at that over the bumps. Jordan Taylor is on the move right now. That Konica Minolta Cadillac.
He said to Brendan Hartley, you may have raced Formula One, pal, but you're in my house now.
Side by side action with two of the prototypes. DPI's going through turn one. That's extraordinary stuff.
But the 911 is up to second in the hands of Nick Tandy.
As we're inside the final 60 minutes, 1 hour of racing to go. The 911 is right on him, and he is on cold tyres, so a brilliant outlap by Tandy. He's taken the position, I believe.
How good is this? Less than 3 seconds between the first two overall, less than 3 seconds between GTLM, and less than 1 second between the first two in GTD.
Leader side swipes the 912. Lawrence Van Tour gets a big hit.
Wow, this is terrific up front, less than 20 minutes to run.
96 Turner BMW with another problem on the left-hand side of the car.
Full course yellow for the 5th time in this race with just 15 minutes remaining. Oh boy. And look at that smirk on Wayne Taylor's face. He knows his youngest son's got a shot.
I think he does have something for Nazar, but he's going to have to do it on the first lap. Or if you're the leader, can you run 3 or 4 perfect laps?
Nazar sees turn 17 first and is gone. Says Jordan Taylor, catch me if you can. Of Tandy and Briscoe in hot pursuit, so they're rounding up the GTD front runners.
This is not going to be easy for Nick Tandy. Yeah, down the inside, the Ford 67's gone around.
3.7 miles of the Sebring International Raceway. And Felipe Nazar will be a Sebring winner. Action Express, Wheel and Engineering, checkered flag waiting. It's a Sebring victory to Felipe Nazar. What a run! We want to congratulate too the 38 Performance Tech Motorsports LMP2. Final turn, checkered flag there. Back-to-back wins for Porsche. And can you believe it? The GRT Grasser team will do it in GTD.
IMSA's opening 2 weekends of racing in Florida are already done. Now the racing action heads to the West Coast for the 3rd round of the season in Long Beach, California. Be sure to keep up with all the action on track and the fun off of it by following IMSA on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. We'll see you down the road on another episode of IMSA, The Road to Racing.